In the rural farming town of Watseka, approximately 85 miles south of Chicago, Illinois, something otherworldly was going down between 1877 and 1878. It was here that the very first American possession was documented. When we think of possession, we think of demonic spirits taking over a human body by force, and most often the results are terrifying. This case, however, is quite different than your average so-called possession. Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. This is a story about possession, and it involved two teenagers, one by the name of Lurancy Vennum and the other called Mary Roth. The strange thing is, one of these girls was already dead. On the afternoon of the 11th of July in 1877, 13-year-old Lurancy Vennum was mid-conversation with her mother when she started to feel lightheaded and ill. A few moments later, the girl fell to the ground where she remained for the next 5 hours, unconscious. The next day, everything seemed fine for a short time, but then the same feeling came back and the girl would collapse yet again. This time, however, when she came to, she claimed that she had seen heaven.
I saw heaven, and angels, and a lot of other ghosts who talked to me.
2 years earlier, Lurancy's brother and sister sadly passed away. She claimed that she saw them in heaven too. Sometimes these trances would last for hours and Lurancy would speak in a different voice than her regular voice, and speak of places that were far away, places she certainly had never visited. The mid to late 1800s was a time when the spiritualism movement was widely popular. Many people believed that Lurancy was manifesting mediumistic abilities during these trances. Many believed that the young girl was channeling the spirits of people crossed over and even communicating with angels, while many doctors diagnosed her as being mentally ill and attempted to encourage her parents to send her to the state insane asylum. They refused. Asylums in that day and age were rife with abuse and offered zero treatment. In fact, many patients would be lucky to make it out of there alive, never mind make it out there cured. The idea was to lock those who were deemed mentally ill away from the outside world, and those who were deemed as normal. I mean, who's normal these days, right? In a world of insane people, the sane would be locked up. Lurancy falling into these trances would become more and more frequent. Each time she would return with stories from the other realm. This obviously got the attention of many people. One of these people was a man called Asa Roth. He had come to see Lurancy purely because his own daughter, Mary Roth, had been exhibiting eerily similar phenomena in the past. The Vennum family invited him into their home. He had brought along with him a spiritualist by the name of Dr. Winchester Stevens, who documented this very first meeting. He said that Lurancy was curled up in the chair with her eyes staring, looking in every way like an old hag. He detailed how she called her father Old Black Dick and her mother Old Granny during this initial meeting. Lurancy didn't introduce herself as Lurancy, but as Katrina Hogan, a 63-year-old woman from Germany. Moments later, she claimed that she was actually a young boy called Willie Canning, who had recently perished. Before they left, Lurancy snapped out of the trance and was able to communicate with them normally, as herself. Asa told the Vennum family that Mary would often enter similar trances like this. She would take on the character of somebody else. They wholeheartedly believed that Mary was possessed and could recollect information about places that she had never been and people she had never known. As she got older, the trances increased in intensity and in violence. For 18 months she was kept in a water cure, but this didn't help. So, from my understanding, a water cure is when a person is kept inside a body of water for long periods of time. This can either be a bath or a shower. This seems like torture to me. Mary soon developed a bizarre obsession with blood and took to applying leeches to her own forehead. One morning her father found her slicing open her arms with a knife from the kitchen. She needed to rid her body of blood, she said, before she passed out. Her father had agreed with the physicians at this time and sent Mary to an insane asylum. One morning, Mary woke up, sat up straight in her bed and screamed uncontrollably before falling back down dead at just 19 years old. Despite her death, Asa was adamant that Mary's spirit was still alive somehow. Now this is where the story becomes even more obscure. Following this meeting, another spirit came through Lurancy, Mary Roth. While in one of her trances, Lurancy introduced herself as Mary, adding that she didn't recognise the name Lurancy. Her name was Mary, she contended. Furthermore, she didn't recognise the home that she now lived in, or the other family members. She wanted to go home, she said. The Vennum family contacted the Roth family once again to tell them that Lurancy was now possessed by Mary. They immediately made their way to the Vennum household. Although Lurancy had never met the rest of the family, she was able to identify each one, even identifying them by childhood nicknames. She would say things like, "Here comes Ma," and "Nervy." The Roth family continued to visit and interact with Lurancy, who they believed was genuinely Mary, just in another body. A couple of months later, the Vennum family allowed the Roth family to take Lurancy to their home, to see how she would behave and see if she could regain her real identity. As the months passed, they had hoped that Lurancy would snap out of it and transform back into her true identity, but this didn't happen. While they didn't want her to leave, Lurancy had been treating her own family like strangers, and they were desperate to get her back. As Lurancy and the Roth family jumped into the buggy, they passed by what was their old house, the house that Mary had actually grown up in, the house the Roth family moved out of following Mary's sad death. Lurancy immediately became confused and asked, "Why are we not stopping here?" Miraculously, the longer Lurancy stayed with the Roth family, the less frequent her trances became. She was able to recollect fond Roth family memories and recognise items inside the home as her own. She took much delight in playing the piano, something that Mary could do well, but Lurancy never did. "Truly our daughter, who was dead, has been restored to us," said the Roth family. After a couple of months' bliss, Lurancy told the Roth family that it was time for her to leave. She kissed them all goodbye. She was increasingly upset. When she arrived back home at the Vennum household, she recognised everybody straight away as her own family. Within days, Mary was gone for good, and Lurancy never fell into another trance again. The Vennum family believed that the spirit of Mary had completely healed Lurancy's ailment. So what happened in Watseka? Was Lurancy really possessed by the spirit of Mary Roth, or was it some kind of elaborate hoax? Nobody can say for sure, but the Roth and Vennum families certainly believed the possession was absolutely genuine, as did those people who witnessed it firsthand. So that's it for this wee story, folks. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. Stay safe out there, and remember, keep smiling.